What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to go into the military.
Why?
I wanted to join the Air Force so I could see the world. And what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a nurse, but then I also wanted to go to the military. And I wanted to go to the Navy. I just wanted to just go and just see the world. But I had a son, so all of that changed, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
Tell me about someone when you were growing up who really inspired you.
My mother and my grandmother.
Why?
They were two strong women. We were raised by single parents, by our mother and our grandmother, and they just instilled in us that we could be anything we wanted to be. They always told us to go for it. Don't be afraid to just go out and just get what you want. So who inspired you?
Mom and grandmother,
Why?
two strong women who raised us to be the best that we could be.
What was your school like when you were growing up?
The first school I went to was Klondike, and it was fine. But then when the desegregation came and we had to go to Gordon, it was total hell.
So when I went to Klondike, I'm like you. Everything was fine, and then when we're told we're going to another school, we were pulled out of school for a week. So that was just fun. We didn't have to go to school. We watched all the kids walk past us every morning, but we were at home. So what does education opportunity mean to you?
The education opportunity means to me that we are able to receive the best education that's possible. But I want to go back on my experience at Gordon.
Okay.
The first day that I got there, once we were told that we could go to school there, but first of all, we had to take an aptitude test. And the aptitude test was that we had to pass a jar of mustard to each other, left and right. Can you see how humiliating that was for our mother to stand there and watch us have to pass a jar of mustard in order to go to a school, which is in the Memphis City School, where all schools were the same, but the only thing was that we were going to an all-white school. So how did you feel about that? You remember that when we had to sit in that room and do that?
I vaguely remember, but I remember Mama talking about what she had to do and how she felt so humiliated that her children had to go through that just to go to a neighborhood school. And I know it was about trying to get desegregation done, but with our mom, it was just that she felt that it was a neighborhood school. It was 2 blocks from our house, and we had to walk 13 blocks to Klondike. And I mean, our house was like right there on the corner, and you walked up, not even a block. But I remember going in, and we were going across the street, and they told all us that don't look at anybody, just look straight, just keep looking straight. What did I do? I looked in the camera, and I froze. I looked like I'm a scared little child, and I was scared. But once we got there, I remember that our mom didn't want to let us go.
I remember she just pulled us behind her. And Attorney Shigma told her, he said, Mary Elizabeth, it's time to let them go. But when we got there, they told us it was only supposed to be 12.
Right.
And because we were twins, our mom said, you can't take one without the other one. So that's how it came to be the Memphis 13. And she's made up the thing that I'm the plus one to the
Yes,
group.
you are the plus one to the group, Sheila. It was only supposed to be 12 of us, but you were the extra one. I'm the oldest, so I was automatically going. But you came along. But I'm so glad you were there with me. I really am.
And when we got to the school, you remember how they separated us. And they told moms, well, we can't put them in the same classroom together because we can't tell them apart. One may get in trouble and we'll blame the other one. So she was fine with that. But my experience was a whole lot worse than yours, Sharon, and a lot of it I didn't talk about.
Can you talk about it now?
When I walked into the classroom and I sit down, it was a little white boy sitting behind me. And the minute I sit down, he started calling me a nigger. And he called me a nigger all day long. They didn't want to play with me. I had to play by myself. And when we passed down the hall, I could see you, but I couldn't get to you because I wanted to be with you. And I couldn't. And then my teacher, I made myself sick. I didn't want to go to school. My teacher was so mean to me that she would have me to, her leg would be, pus would be running out of her leg. And she made me get on my knees and wipe the pus off of her knees. And I couldn't go to school. I made myself sick. And I had to repeat the first grade because I couldn't go anymore. And I was too scared to tell Mama or even talk about it to her. She was just felt that I just didn't feel good, but she really didn't know because I couldn't tell her. I didn't want her to think that I was a failure and that I couldn't do it. But it was a reason why I just couldn't go.
So tell me about the time when you felt unsafe or excluded in school.
The first day I walked in the door. When I went in the classroom and the little boy, he kept calling me out of my name. I knew I wasn't welcome.
So did anything happen outside when you went outside for the day, or anything happen?
We went outside to play. And, we had police all around the school, and, they, was watching us and stuff. And my classmates didn't want to play with me, so we had a real big playground. So I just started walking. And I got up to the fence, and I sit down in the dirt, and the little boy, he was still following me and still calling me a nigger. And I sit down in the dirt, and I was just playing. And something in my mind just said, if he called me a nigger one more time, I'm going to hit him. And before he could get it out of his mouth, I hit him in the mouth. And he ran back to the policeman and was saying, she hit me. And he told me, you shouldn't have called her a nigger. But the thing that I got up and I started skipping, and then I stopped. And I said, oh my God, my mama gonna kill me. Because she had told us, whatever they said, ignore it. So when Mama picked us up from school, do you remember that you had to tell it?
I couldn't wait to tell what you did at school. I couldn't wait. I just said, Sheila did something that you told her not to do. But she didn't whoop you. She just sit down and talked to you, and she told us 2 wrongs don't make a right. He was wrong, but you were also wrong. And so we learned from that mistake. So what do your parents hope for you and your education? How did they talk to you about it with you?
I'm sorry, before we answer that, I'm just gonna
I'm too.
fix the mic. You're both doing phenomenal.
I'm sorry.
It's equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. And there's grab some tissues. Have those handy.
Here you go, Sheila.
But yeah, thank you, Sheila, for your honesty and being vulnerable. And again, we can take a breath. I'm sorry, Sharon. Do you mind asking my question again?
Which one was it? About saying about what my mom, I couldn't wait.
With your parents.
Oh, okay. Oh, what were your parents' hope for you and your education? How did they talk about it with you?
She just wanted us to have the best education that we could have. It, like you said, it wasn't about going to a school because it was all white. The school was a lot better than what we were going, when we were at Klondike. The books were new. When we got there, they were way ahead of us in everything that we were doing. So that's what she wanted. She just wanted the best for us. So what do you think she wanted for you?
I think she wanted the best for us, and like you said, when we went to Klondike was dark and dreary, and the books were old. And I don't know if you remember when you did the interview, you said when I got to Gordon, it was lit up. I thought it was Christmas. I thought I was Christmas shopping or at a mall. We weren't used to that. The books were more newer. Um, it was just a totally different experience than what we had at Klondike.
Yeah, because I think I said I thought I was in heaven.
Yeah, you said you thought you were in heaven. So how did school desegregation inspire you, impact you?
It made me stronger. It really did. But the thing that hurts the most is that in the city of Memphis, right now, people still don't know about the Memphis 13. You know, we have to say, well, have you heard about the Memphis 13? No. Then we say, well, let's tell us who you are, who they are. But we can go out of the state. If you know, when we went to Little Rock, we met the Little Rock Nine. They knew about us. We went to University of Texas, the law school. They knew about us. An hour, they knew about us. You even went to Harvard and spoke. But it's like the city of Memphis, they just didn't know. And I don't know, it's because when we went, we were 6-year-old, we were babies. And I don't know if you remember Mom telling us that the president at that time was John F. Kennedy, and his brother was Attorney General Robert Kennedy, and they told them nothing could happen to us. They didn't want a hair on our head touched. So I guess no media, nothing went wrong, and that's the reason why they didn't know about us. But thanks to Daniel doing the documentary on us, now everybody knows who the Memphis 13 is.
Do you remember when Daniel called us and what I said?
You asked, you wouldn't talk to her student. She called, and you said, no, we wouldn't take the phone call. So my son works for the University of Memphis, and you called him and you said, Nick, TT needs you to do something for me. I need for you to check to see if you all have a law professor named Daniel Keel. And he called back, he said, yeah, TT, we do have a law professor by that name. And after then, we went ahead on and did the interview with him because we were almost the last two holdout.
Yeah, Fami was the last one. His mom had passed, but we were the last two. And I think what hurts the most about this situation is that one of our class members, what I call us fraternity, had passed away and we didn't even know it. I mean, we could have been there for her kids, but no one followed up with us. We went from the first grade to the sixth grade at Gordon, and after the first grade, we had the little Christmas party, and that was it. Nobody followed up to see if we went to college, how we were doing, and it was like anytime they wanted to find us, they went to Mr. Withers, Ernest Withers. They always went to Mr. Ernest Withers, and he comes and said, twins, they're looking for y'all. Oh, I said, oh, they don't want anything. Just, they don't want anything. And he said, oh, don't be like that. They looking for you. But it's like I tell everybody, I said, well, if we had went to jail, committed a crime, they would have said, that's one of those Memphis 13. But you didn't hear anything about us. And you still don't.
I'm going to go back to when we were in school. Do you remember Miss Sarah?
Yes, I do.
Why? Why do you remember Miss Sarah?
Miss Sarah was the custodian, and she stayed right around the corner for us. And she said, I told our mama, she said, don't worry, I'm going to watch out for them. And then it always made me smile when I went to the cafeteria because it was one of the cooks was saying, baby, you okay? You want a little extra something? How's your day going? Because then you were seeing your color. Somebody that you knew cared about you, that wasn't going to let anything happen to you. If it wasn't but 30 minutes or 15 minutes, you knew you were safe. You didn't have to worry about anything. That was the free time.
That was free time. You remember when we had to go to the bathroom and we would have to go, they would let us go to the bathroom by ourselves.
Yeah.
because they didn't want anybody to do anything to us when we went in the bathroom. They didn't want the other children to be in there bothering us. So if I had to go to the bathroom, I would let her know that I needed to go to the bathroom. And the policeman was outside in the hall, and he would go in and look around and tell me it's okay to go in. But being 6 years old, you really didn't understand,
Yeah.
you know, why is it like this? But as we got older, I realized they didn't want us there.
Right.
So what did? They started moving out. They moved out of the neighborhood. They came and pulled their children out. They started pulling them out the next day because they didn't want us there.
Yeah.
And I always said, when that little boy called me a nigger, you're not born a racist. You're taught.
Yes.
So in order for him to say that, they had to have been talking about it at home. All the little nigger children come to school there tomorrow. You know, what do a 6-year-old know about calling somebody a nigger?
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. It's just, it made me stronger.
Yeah. And it also caused a lot of rift in the family, in other families. I don't know if you remember Alvin's mom, you know, she was going to go work in her sister's place. And this lady told her, no, you said you registered your son at that white school. You know, so our parents lost jobs because of it. It was jealousy among some family members, sisters and brothers, because they thought, you know, that this child didn't have anything, and so she was getting things when the rest wasn't. So it caused a lot of problems, but we all turned out good.
Yes, we did.
We did. We all turned out great. So looking back, what do you think people should know about desegregation? What surprised you the most about desegregation at schools?
I think as we look back on desegregation, I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was something that had to happen. But unfortunately, it had to be a law to make that happen. So, and now, if you look at it in Memphis, when the Memphis City School gave up the charter and they wanted to be just one school, the Shelby County schools went and built their own schools. So to me, it's like they don't want to move forward. They were trying to go back. And I tell people all the time, I think that's an insult to us because that's a slap in the face. Because you don't want to be one school district. You still want to have your own district, so you build other schools. And now the Shelby County School is really Memphis City Shelby County School.
Yeah, because you got Millington has theirs, Bartlett has theirs, Arlington has theirs, Germantown, Collierville, all of them. But, you know, and they said, well, now y'all shouldn't think like that because blacks are going there. But that's not the purpose of what it was. It wasn't about that. You know, it's for all us to be just in one school.
Under one school system.
Yeah.
But they didn't want that.
Go ahead. What do you think most people misunderstand about desegregation at schools?
I think
Answer that. Sorry.
What do you think most people misunderstand about desegregation? I really don't about the desegregation of schools. I don't think that they want it to be one. You know, that everybody should go to the same school together. I think that they've not. I don't know. I just think that they still want it to be separate.
I don't know. I agree with you on that about people misunderstanding, but it was just about trying to get a better education. You know, you want all the students. We were all products of the Memphis City schools. So why should the black schools not have the same as the white school? You know, why shouldn't we have better books? Why our books had to be hand-me-downs? Like when they got through with their books, the first year, then they passed them to us. By then, the books were all worn and everything. So, why couldn't you just do that for all kids?
Can I ask, and you can feel free to tell each other, when these desegregation initiatives were first proposed, I know you were very young, but what do you remember about that time and the conversation that was happening in the community?
Well, they really, when we got ready to go to school, they didn't announce it. It wasn't announced. Because once they came and told us, it was like a last minute decision. And once they came and made the decision, it was a policeman came to our house, and I was sitting outside on the steps. And I'll never forget, I jumped up and I ran in the house and I said, Mama, this big, tall man out here, and he want to see you. And he told her, he said, they made the decision. Y'all are they're going in on tomorrow. And I'm going to be out here patrolling in front of y'all's home. Because like cars would pass by our house, and my mom took the dresser and put it across the front door because she just, at that time she became fearful. But I never forget the night before we got ready to go to school, and I don't know if you remember, we had gone to bed, and my mom, our mom, she was walking and she was praying. And she was asking the Lord, she said, what have I done? What have I done to my children? And she was just praying, Lord, please take care of them. Take care of all of them. And she was crying. And I started crying, but I was crying because Mama was crying. I didn't know what the cry, what she was really crying about, because I heard my mama crying, and I just started crying.
Well, I remember that they, when they wanted to get it done, when they had made the decision that it was going to happen, that Maxine Smith and they went around in the neighborhood just knocking on doors to ask people to let their kids go, and people were just scared. They wouldn't do it. And our cousin wanted to let her son go, but they wouldn't let him go because he was so small, and they were scared that he would get hurt. And so he couldn't go. And so, like you said, it was supposed to be 12, but because me and you were twins, it became 13. But then after the first year, everybody saw that everything was okay. Then people started coming to our mom asking us, how can I get my child in? So that was basically how it was with the neighborhood. I mean, people were just, they were scared. I mean, even our grandmother, she was like, oh, what have you done to my grandchildren? If something they get hurt or something, I'm killing you and all of that. I was like, oh, Lord, please don't let it go that far. But she was just nervous and stuff, and she was just scared, and Mama was scared, and like I said, I was scared, and I was fine. But when I saw all those police and all those people, cameras, and I just froze, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do this.
What do you think made your mother choose to opt into this?
Well, with our mom, it wasn't about desegregation. It was about, with her, the whole process was, why did we have to go 13 blocks? Why couldn't we go to the neighborhood school? That was with her. And then when they came, that was her thought on. And then when they came and asked her, she was fine, because then that we were supposed to go to a neighborhood school.
And you have to remember that, like, where we live, like, and this is so strange, because, like, we lived on this side, and it was predominantly black. When we got to the corner of the school, that's where the whites lived, and it was just white all the way back. So we had to go we're in the same neighborhood, it's just a block, but you had to go from the black neighborhood to the white neighborhood.
And we had to walk all the way through the white neighborhood
to get
back to another black neighborhood
school. So it was interesting, so to say the least. And I don't remember a lot. I don't know if I was traumatized, and I don't really remember the first through the fourth grade at Gordon. I don't remember anything. I remember when we had the Christmas play. I remember that. I remember I wanted to be a safety patrol girl so bad. When I got to the 6th grade, I wanted to wear my little hat with my little pin, and I could tell all the younger kids, stay in a straight line now. Don't be pushing. I remember them telling us that, but I wanted to be in charge, so I could tell them that. Now, I was a big girl. I could tell them that. And then I remember how the school was built. It comes back to me, memories how it was a 3-story building.
Yeah.
and we had the, what they call those, when you went, what those things they call, when you went down the stairs, they was outside, and you had to walk outside and walk down the stairs, and then we had our auditorium was across from
The fire escapes. We
the
had to go
fire
down, we had to
escapes,
go down the
the
fire escapes
to get to where
we
we would
wanted to go to the auditorium. And I remember, you remember the bike rack where we go outside and it was like just sit on the bike rack and just sit there in the evening time. I remember those days, once, like you said, once we got past the first grade and things started getting better. It really did. But that first year, it was just so hard. And I remember when they told my mom, they had her come up to the school and they said, well, we're going to pass her. And I was like, ooh, I'm happy, but I had practically missed a whole entire school year. I practically missed. If I went, like I said, my teacher, I just couldn't do it. It just made me sick. It made me sick to think about it now. Even if I could see her now, I probably would just freeze up and just start crying. And I just, and then remember all of that. And then once we got past that, things got better. But I remember them telling Mama, well, we're going to go ahead on and pass her. We're going to do a social promotion. We're going to move her on to the second grade with her sister. And my mom said, no, y'all not doing that to her. You're not going to give her anything. You're not giving it to her. She'll be all right. She'll learn. If she wants to catch up with her sister and graduate, she'll graduate on time. And I did. I went on to summer school. And by the time I got to the 12th grade, I didn't want to graduate with y'all because I had met my own friends, and we had the same friends, but the people that I was in the class, my classmates, that's the class that I wanted to graduate. And when I got into the 12th grade, I really didn't need but one class to graduate my credits, because I had went to summer school and took all the English courses. All I needed was history.
Yeah. So is there a defining moment from you work toward education equality, a moment of memory that stands out the most?
Defining moment. That we were the first. Mm-hmm. We opened the doors. And we tell young people every day now that we see them, hey, the door was open for you a long time ago. All you got to do is just step in it. Yeah. And you can be whatever you want it to be.
And you go in college or anything you want to go. Like you said, we opened up a lot of doors for a lot of people because the city of Memphis, it wasn't many blacks that were in charge. Everybody was white. So we opened up the doors and people could walk through it, and all you had to do is just go for it. So what advice would you give to teachers, parents, or administrators to realize the promise of integration? Integration. I think I said it right. What would be your advice? If you had to go to a classroom and you had to talk to students, what would you tell the teachers and the students?
I would tell them about what we went through, that the opportunity was there for us to make the change. We did make a change, and for them to just strive to do better. If you know better, you'll do better. Right. I would strive to our children to learn your history. Go back and look, learn. It's just so many things that they could learn. I'm still learning now, and I'm 68 years old.
Yes.
And some of the things that I'm learning now, I didn't know that, Oh, I didn't know that person did this or that they did that. I didn't know. But I'm constantly learning. And that's what I would strive for our children, for our educators, just to teach them, Don't try to right now they're trying to take the history out of the schools. And I don't understand why, Everybody needs to know what happened.
Yes. I agree with you on that. And I just think that if you teach them and knowing things, just tell kids to get in their books, like they were talking, Gina and them were talking about doing this. I said, do an essay and let them look at the documentary at school and then go home to their parents and everybody just sit around the table and say, did you know this? And let them say that they tell their parents, well, let me show you this documentary. And it's going to be somebody in their family that knows it.
Yes.
But it's never, like you said, it's so closed in Memphis that nobody talks about it. So when it comes to light, it's like, well, where are they? You know, I don't know if you remember this lady. We went somewhere and she said, well, where y'all come from? I said, I come from North Memphis. Well, where you been? I've been here. Because the story is not told. And it's like you said, we go all over the country. Like I said, I went to Harvard Law School, and it was just like, I was treated like I was a rock star. When we went to Ole Miss, we were treated like we were rock stars. You know, it's just, we went to the Thurgood Marshall Law School. It was just like we were just treated like we were special. They just made us feel so special in other states, and they don't do that in Memphis.
But you remember when we went had the premiere of the documentary, and this little boy walked up to us and he said, "Can I give you a hug? I'm so sorry that you all were treated that way. Yeah. I'm sorry that my people treated you all like that. Can I just give you a hug?" And it's a little 6-year-old boy.
Yeah, it's little things that make you happy and you want to know why, was it really worth it? Yes, and a lot of people ask me, would I do it all over? Sometimes I say yes, and sometimes I say no, but if it's to better our kids, I would do it.
Yeah, for them to have a better education.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. It was to have the same.
Yeah.
And I would do it all over again. I would. I would hope maybe I would have a different teacher, but yeah, I would do it all over again.
I'm curious how did it feel to be on the front lines of historical change? Were you aware that you had this responsibility? Did it feel like a responsibility? Did you have doubts?
Well, you know, you being 6-year-old, you're just a happy little freeloaded going child. You know, just okay, I got to go to school. You know, so you know, it wasn't that I, knowing, I'm doing this and that. No, I was just a little 6-year-old child knowing that I had to go to a new school. I might wanted to stay at Klondike, but our mom knew what was best for us. So it was, it wasn't like it was a decision that I had to make. It was a decision that she made.
Yeah, I agree with her on that. And it was just like, we're going to go to this new school and everything going to be fine, just go and just be a child, just try to be a child. You're not expecting people are not expecting a lot from you. The adults they were looking for things, but as a child, you were just a little child. You just didn't know, I'll be all right, Somebody had to do it, so we were chosen. I remember when we were at the premiere, I don't know if you remember this lady, she said, that should have been me. And what I told her, I turned around, I said, well, it wasn't you. It was not, this is not your moment. It's all about us. I mean, and she said, I wouldn't have did this. I would have did, no, you wouldn't have. No. Now, this day and age, they may, but back then, no, you weren't going to do anything.
No.
You just talking.
Yeah.
You just wanted to take my moment, and I just stopped you. Like, wait a minute, it's not about you right now. It's about the Memphis 13, not you.
Can you tell each other about the moment you realized the importance of being a part of the Memphis 13?
Because it was, I guess once the documentary came out, because I used to always say, I was always upset about when I would see where they were like honoring people, different, especially Civil Rights Museum. They would have the Freedom Award and everybody would get honored. And I would say, why won't they ever honor us? Why? Why aren't we honored? We're right here in this city. They're bringing people all over the world here. And once we got together, and like I said, Daniel did the documentary, that brought us back together. It's been a healing process for us, especially for me, because as I talk about it, I'm talking to I want to say my comrades. I'm talking to them about what happened to me, the experience I had. And they are feeling what I'm feeling. Because I'll never forget this lady told me, she said, you know what you need to read? I was saying that, she said, have you ever read Warriors Don't Cry? And I said, no. And when we went to Little Rock, I bought the book. And I was reading the book and I got to one part. And it was Mel B asking her grandmother, why? And she said, it's not your time. And when I saw that, I kept going back to that. It's not our time. And when Daniel did the documentary and it came out, I said, it's our time.
And I just remember, they used to be I would get upset because they were always talking about the Little Rock Nine, the Little Rock Nine. And I said, well, what about the Memphis 13? What about the Memphis 13? And I tell people all the time, they know more about the Little Rock Nine. They know more about, I can go around in the room, I say, I got a question. How many people can tell me about the Little Rock Nine? All the hands go up. How many people can tell me about the West Memphis 3? Well, those little boys. Everybody's hand goes up. How many people can tell you about the Memphis 13?
Nobody
hand
goes
goes
up.
And that's sad. I mean, it's really, really sad.
But as you look back on it, when you said that about the Little Rock Nine, they went through so much.
Yeah.
And it was because, the government had to send troops in, and that was a more, it got much coverage. Didn't anything happen to us? But I often like I was telling DeWanna the other day, what if that had happened to us? And I don't think that city would ever be the same again. But everything went the way they wanted it to go. It wasn't like broadcast 2 or 3 days before letting everybody know, but they did know the day we were going in. But it wasn't something that was broadcast the whole week where they could be out there, the parents could be out there protesting and, everything. We just, we came on to school. So, I look at it like that.
And I look at it that God had a hand in all of it.
Yes.
That it was Him, He was protecting us, and that He didn't want anything to happen to us.
It's true.
And like when we went to Little Rock and Mel B was there and she was saying, I'm looking at this documentary and I see y'all in me, but we were older. We were an older version of y'all. And she said, I honor y'all. She said, because y'all were just 6 years old. Mm-hmm. You didn't know what was going to happen. Your parents didn't know what was going to happen. And like you said, because they didn't broadcast it, that we were going, that kept a lot of it down. Because they would have been out there protesting. They would have been protesting, and it would have got ugly.
Yeah.
It really would have got ugly.
Can you first of all, to each other, do you remember, I know it was an emotional night before, but do you remember anything that your mother or grandmother said to you in terms of advice?
Well, our grandmother, my mama didn't tell her. She did not. My grandmother did not find out until the morning that we got ready to go to school. And somebody went and told her that the police was at the house and that it was a bunch of police at our house. And here she come down the street crying, wanting to know what was going on. And my mama had to tell her. And my grandmother, she cried the whole day. My mama tell us that my grandma walked down to that house about 15 times telling her to go get us. Go get my babies from up there. So my grandma,
go get us.
My grandmother said, go get them. Get my babies out of that school.
Yeah, she did. She did. It's funny. And then, I go back and I think about our grandmother. She used to get up every morning and she would go. She was a maid and she went and cleaned house every morning. And I look at that. I imagine her last night. It came back my memory how she used to get up, catch the bus, and go. Go to clean up somebody's house. And she did that, and she was proud. She put her white uniform on, and she go and she come back home, and it's just it's just little things that make you think. And I know they're proud of us. I know once everything happened and we made it, they're proud. And I know they're looking down on us now. Wow, they're doing an interview in Nashville at a TV station, and all this is happening to them. And it took so long, but like you said, it's our time. And we're not through yet. I
No,
mean,
we're
we're
not.
not.
No.
We're going to keep going. And what legacy do you want to leave for your family or community?
The legacy that I want to leave for my family and community is that we were the first. We were the first in our family, and we were the first in our community. And as I said again, being the first, it's like you're on the front line. We had to take some stuff, but we made it. But I want our family, which our family knows, they remember, they are so proud of us. And because now I look at, everything that we did, it benefited our family and our community.
Yes.
And if that's the legacy that I want to leave, then that's it, just to be proud.
Yeah, I want to keep going. I tell them I want to go. If I could go to all 50 states and tell our story, I would. I want kids to just know that you can be anything. You can just put your mind to it. Don't, like in the classroom, if somebody want to be the class clown, let them be the class clown. Don't let anybody deny you from being smart. Because with Nick, your son, he didn't want to be. I know he was smart, but he didn't want to be called a nerd.
Right.
And we had to get Reverend Collins to talk to him, to tell him, Nick, don't do that. That's you. You went on. You was the salutatorium in your class. You went to the University of Memphis. You graduated in 4 years. You got your bachelor's. You went back and got your master's. Now you're a professor at the University of Memphis. I mean, we back then that you couldn't do that, but we look at it now, and we're just so proud of him. My son, he didn't go to college, but he's in construction. Mm-hmm. And as long as it's honest and you getting up, that's what we try to tell kids. I want to tell kids, just know that as long as it's honest, you can go home and you can lay your head on a pillow at night and don't have to worry about anything, whether somebody's going to come shooting up your house. Just try to be better than what your family was. You always want your kids to do better than you. And that's what I hope for our young people, that they just go in and get the history and just go back and say, wow, these people did this for us.
I can do it too.
And that's really what I want. I mean, I just want it for the world. And I would just love to be able to go to all 50 states and just tell our story. I would love for them just to take this and just make it in curriculum in all 50 states, for all schools to see, And then we laugh and we cry and we do on the documentary. We look at each other now when we look at it, and we start laughing about things we said and what we did. But it's the happy moments.
Yeah.
It's a healing process for us, and now we are all healing.
Yeah.
And I wish all 13 of us could be here, but 3 are deceased, and I just wish that all of this could have happened before they died.
Do either of you have any last words to tell each other?
I am, like you said, I'm the plus one. And I'm just I love you. You my role model. You're my hero. And I just thank God that you and I are still here to see this moment. I love you.
I love you too, Sheila. Yes, you are the plus one. And I'm going to let you know that the rest of your life that you're the plus one. Anytime we go anywhere, I'm number one, you the third one, but I'm glad that the Lord has allowed us to see this moment and be able to share it together, because I just don't know if I could make it if you weren't here. And I love you too.
I have a few follow-ups, if that's okay. Yeah. Okay. Take a minute, take a beat. I just want to first clarify, and again, because it's on tape, I just need you to kind of tell each other. Of the Memphis 13, how many of you were together at Gordon?
It was 4 of us. Leandrew Wiggins. I'm not sorry, not Leandrew Wiggins. Alvin Freeman. Pamela Mays. Was she Pamela? What is she now? Pamela Mays. She was Pamela Mays in school. Oh, Pamela, her name is Pamela Mays Evan. Sharon Malone. And then Sheila Malone Conway. So it's 4 of us there.
So it was 4 at Gordon, 3 at Bruce, 4 at Roselle, and 2 at Springdale. So that's how they did it, yeah.
And we got to this point before, but you're both very vivid storytellers, so I want to, if you wouldn't mind going here again, can you walk me through that first day? What did you have for breakfast? What were you wearing? How did you get to school? What was the scene at school?
Well, we were dressed alike. Had on our little, what they call a little salak, with the black and white salak. We had on the little dress. It was a little white dress and had trimmed in blue and had our little sweater on. And like I said, when we got to the school, we walked to school because they met at our house. And that was the point where we started. That's where they wanted us to walk from. And, we walked on up to the school, and we walked in, and the principal was there, and the teachers were there for each, classroom that they were going to put us in. So that was basically like, the part that I can remember.
Yeah, I just remember walking, from our house, and then when we got to the corner, and I saw all those police officers, and Attorney Schumann kept saying, "Look straight, don't look at anybody." And I looked in the camera, and I just froze. But I thought we were cute.
I did too. We were little because we had on our little salak.
Yeah, we were real cute that
looked
day. Had our little hair done, and it was just wonderful. I tell everybody, I think if I go to a psychiatrist and lay on the couch and just let all of my memories come out, but then the one said, "No, you might want to let some of the memories stay, because you might like, oh no, I don't want to know that."
Yeah.